Having recently sat my third Vipassana Meditation Retreat as a male manager, in this video I wanted to share 10 essential Vipassana tips to make your retreat as successful as possible. By utilizing these Vipassana tips, I've managed to squeeze immense value out of every minute of the very rare and privileged opportunity of going on retreat. And make sure to stick around for the weird bonus Vipassana tip at the end that not many people will talk about for Vipassana Meditation Retreat. But otherwise, let's dive straight in here. Tip number 1, no matter how long you've been practicing meditation for, it's still going to take quite a while to settle into the retreat. Like the scheduling, the pace, the routine, you're meditating 4:30 all the way late into the night, the food, the people, the customs, everything. So to feel a bit all over the place is completely normal for the first couple of days, and just keep that in mind. Now, tip number 2, and this tip is so important, guys, so listen closely here. Vipassana meditation is not to deal with the content of psychological stuff that's coming up. Let's say you experience a negative, unpleasant sensation in your chest. It feels like a big contraction or something like that. And then your tendency of the mind might be to go, oh, this must be from that time that Susie in grade 12 insulted me. Right? So that's analyzing the content. You're not there to do that. Now, you'll be taught this on the retreat, but you're there to deal with the sensations. Whether it's unpleasant, pleasant, or neutral, just do your best to keep coming back to the sensations. Tip number 3 is to take a posture, preemptively know which posture you're going to use in the retreat, and stick to it. And let me tell you, when I went into a retreat knowing which posture I would sit with, it helped tremendously. Now look, there's no perfect posture. Everyone has their own anatomical variations and past damage to the body that might impact them from doing a certain posture effectively. But at the end of the day, there's really no avoiding pain, guys. No matter how much you try and move around, it's gonna keep on coming back. It's gonna keep on coming back. So if you can learn to sit with it and to deal with it as it is, just observe the pain arise, you will eventually come to a place where pain won't be a problem for you. Just persevere, pick one posture, and stick to it. And make sure to comment yes if you want me to make a video on my meditation posture that allows me to sit without pain for hours and hours if I want to. Tip number 4, guys, is to make sure to follow the instructions precisely. So maybe you have a practice that you've been practicing for years and years outside of meditation. That's great, but don't use it at the retreat. Use the technique as it is taught on the retreat. And there's 2 main reasons for this. For one, when you lie, you're aligning your moral compass to think that that's okay. And that has the huge weight on your shoulder while you're practicing of you subconsciously thinking that, wow, okay, I'm lying here. And that is gonna be a hindrance to your practice. And the second reason is if you bring your meditation technique into the Vipassana Meditation Retreat and it's not the technique as it's taught, you may enter psychological territory that the assistant teachers won't know how to deal with. So it's not just for your benefit, but it's for the benefit of everyone involved, okay? You could really put a spanner in the works if you just go off and do your own thing. Commit to the technique. So important. Tip number 5 is to make sure to practice at all times. And the main reason for that being really important is because when you are in the intermission phase between meditation sits, what's going to happen is if your mind isn't consciously dedicated toward coming back to the breath, noticing sensations, you're basically allowing your mind to re-engage with its old habit patterns. And those are ultimately taking you out of a meditative state. If you can continue to stay with the breath and in a meditative state, even in the lunch breaks, while you're eating, while you're walking around, everything that you do, it's keeping you in that meditative state. So when you go back to sit for meditation, you don't have to still your mind down again. It's already still. And in that way, you're going to make way more progress. Now, guys, if you're finding value from the tips so far, make sure you like the video. This helps out my channel as I'm quite new to be recommended in the algorithm so more people can be helped. Thank you. Tip number 6 is to make sure to not beat yourself up if you feel like you're not making progress. It's very easy to fall into that trap of, oh, I'm not doing it, it's day 6 and I'm really frustrated, I still don't get the technique, I'm a failure. Don't do that. You're not a failure. For the first time, you're developing the muscle of how to concentrate. And when this is particularly undeveloped, you've never done this before, the tendency of the mind will be to drift, to get lost in thought, and to be thinking and daydreaming and reacting. You haven't yet built the neural connections through repeated practice to be more concentrated. So it's very common to get lost in thought and become reactive when you first start. Persevere. Be compassionate to yourself, and remember, the teachers are there for a reason. If you feel uncertain about anything, they're there to help you. Tip number 7 is a quick one. Practice just as hard even if no one else is around, okay? You're there for yourself. You're not there to impress people. At the end of the day, you get out what you put into it. Tip number 8 is to ask questions. Guys, when you first get there and you're first learning the technique, it's very, very unfamiliar for the most part. Especially if you're in the West. You know, we have a very intellectual mind and we need to understand every little niche aspect of it. The risk is, if you don't ask questions, you could be practicing like this on this way in this tangent, and then you just keep going up and you just go off into oblivion practicing some weird non-Vipassana thing. But if you keep asking, okay, I'm getting the hang of it, and eventually it feels steadfast. Tip number 9 is to not expect bliss. Maybe you've heard from your friends who have done retreats before that, oh man, I had this bright lights flashing in my eyes, I saw Kundalini fireworks, and I had all this crazy pleasant sensation. Yeah, cool, but that possibly might happen. It might not, it might. But if you cling to those crazy experiences, you're going in the opposite direction. Keep that in mind. You are going in the opposite direction. On my first retreat, I remember going in and I had this really crazy, orgasmic pleasant sensation happen. I'm like, wow, this must be it, right? This must be it. If you can be one of the people who just lets go, just observes the pleasantness, the craziness of consciousness exploding, let it pass away, you're going to be one of the people who makes more rapid progress. And ultimately, that progress is going to lead to a much more beautiful place than any sort of transient pleasant sensation will provide. Tip number 10 is discipline is your best friend. Now, you'll learn pretty quickly through the monastic timetable, meditating, very strict regime, 4:30 to late at night, that discipline is a very highly emphasized thing. But I will add to that. Now, what I think got me through my first retreat so effectively and so seamlessly was the fact that I had developed a very good morning and evening routine. So I won't go into the specifics too much, but I'll give you an example. So at nighttime, I always had my clothes ready for a shower. So I would finish the evening discourse and then I would walk immediately down to the bathroom where I would brush my teeth, have a shower, go to the bathroom. And specifically with the hot shower, by the way, if you have a hot shower, it will actually cool your internal body temperature down. So when you go to bed, you actually get knocked out a lot quicker. I'd highly recommend having a very hot shower before bed. But having that shutdown routine, that preemptively got me prepared for bed, and that allowed me to just knock myself out every time I went to bed without getting too lost in thought, thinking about, what I want to do when I get off retreat and how enlightened I'm going to be, all that stuff. So having a shutdown routine and a morning routine is so beneficial. I would highly recommend it because it keeps you adhering to the schedule, and in that way, you're not as drowsy and you're ready to get after it and make the most out of the retreat. So as promised, the bonus tip that I was talking about. Now, this tip is kind of weird, but hear me out. Make sure that you replace the damn toilet roll. That's the tip. Because we have nothing else to do for 10 days, we might start picking up on weird little things people are doing, like we don't like the way they walk, we don't like the way they eat, and we'll just pick up on absolutely everything and anything. So you can bet that if, say, you don't replace a toilet roll or something like that, people will start to notice it, and they'll get really agitated about it. And you might fall into that trap as well. So just clean up after yourself, try to be as respectful as you possibly can on retreat, because little things tend to get magnified a lot more when people are just completely within their own minds. And consider this a bonus tip as well. I just want to throw in here that you are given this beautiful, incredibly rare opportunity to practice. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm smiling here because this is such a rare and beautiful opportunity that you can get to the root issue of the cause of suffering in your life. So if you can go to this retreat and you can give it your all, if it's 10 days, if it's 5 days, whatever it is, give it your all, because when you come out of retreat, you can have the reciprocated benefits for the rest of your life. And that is something that is worth giving your all. So commit yourself to the practice and please make use of the time for the benefit of yourself and for the benefit of all beings. Much love, guys. If you found this video useful, make sure you leave me a like and also leave a comment as to which tip you found most useful. And also subscribe to the channel if you want more videos on mindfulness, awakening, meditation, all that good stuff. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.